Okay, this is the, it's the garage scene from the manuscript in progress called In the Land of Oz. And thanks to Writer's Roulette, I've been able to stay connected to my writing. Woohoo! I was pounding my fists on the garage walls, the last room in the house to clear out, the last room I would cry in before I left. The Jeep was already packed and ready for the 10,000-mile road trip, meant to help me, save me, let me begin to live again. I reach for a tin canister sitting on a dusty shelf, recognizing it as one of his insect collectors. I pull it towards me too fast, and it pops open as it hits the cement floor, dried leaves falling out. My widow's mind still registers. He was an entomologist, not a botanist. While wet tears dried on my cheeks in the stuffy garage, crybaby snot still threatened to drip from my nostrils. I bend down and pick up the bundle, blowing my nose into one of his bug t-shirts that I was wearing. I sniff, and in an instant, my olfactory receptors recognize that unique scent of a skunk fart set on fire. You dirty dog. The laugh bellows from my diaphragm and stays in my chest until eventually it returns to a cry. I had been waiting for a sign, something, anything that would tell me he approved, that it was okay, that I was going to be all right. I needed so much to know that this leaving was the way forward. So this is why you didn't mind doing the laundry. The garage door was closed and the only windows were 12 feet high, preventing me from seeing out or anyone from seeing in. Still, I walk out of our garage and through the connecting door into the kitchen. I look outside across our back lawn, then walk the circumference of the house from the inside, peeking out each window just in case. In case what? Too many brothers with too many problems had traumatized me away from the recreational drugs of any kind. Daniel knew this. He knew that I didn't mind other people smoking it, so long as they didn't pressure me to participate. I knew what he meant when he said he was going to Ian's to watch hockey. He watched football on TV, sometimes basketball, even the occasional baseball game. Never once did I see him turn the channel to Canadian hockey. You doofus. I didn't care then and I don't care now, but I was surprised that he had stashed it at the house and kept it hidden with such ease. You could have told me. And yet, he knew it would have bothered me and I would have complained and I would have reintroduced the subject again and again and again, eventually using it against him in some argument in the future. And yet, he must have known that I would find it after he was dead. He knew I'd find it, and then he must have known, and he must have meant for me to have it. And if I'm going to have it, then I'll have to take it with me on the road. And if I'm going to take it with me, I should at least try it. The last time I'd smoked a doobie was July 29th, 1998, the day my brother Paul died. I was with Laura Collison, my best friend from elementary school, and we were getting high at 11 o'clock in the morning. I only saw her once a year on my annual visit home to Michigan, which coincided with my annual marijuana smokeversary. We were doing what we always do, what everybody in that small town did. Probably every evening, smoking, laughing, feeding their munchies. Paul called me at 11:05, but I never picked up because I was stoned. Then he called my mother at 11:10 and told her to take care of his kids. She said, of course, thinking he was dropping them off later for her to babysit. At 11:15 a.m. on that gorgeous Michigan morning, Paul, who was 1 year my senior, jumped off the Zilwaukee Bridge, hurling his body 120 feet down, slamming so hard into the grassy area below that when my father identified him later in the morgue, he said it was like touching a large sack of potatoes with too much air in it. No bone in his body was left unbroken. If I had not been high, I would have picked up that phone. If I had picked up that phone, he would still be alive. For 15 years, those thoughts ran in a loop in my head so that I resisted even over-the-counter drugs. Aspirin could not be found in my medicine cabinet. Daniel knew about my brother and his death and my guilt. His secret penchant for smoking a bowl every once in a while never came up in conversation. Don't ask, don't tell was our open secret until he became terminal. And now I remembered that it hadn't been since 1998 that I'd smoked. It was August 28, 2013, the last week of his life. I sat in a chair in the far corner of our guest bedroom while he lay in the hospital bed that hospice delivered. His best friend Manny, his pseudo-wife, sat next to him, sat next to the bed on a sofa chair and puffed on a pipe, that burnt skunk smell wafting through the air. "It takes my mind off things," you said, as Manny handed you the pipe. If you had told me that an injection of heroin into your brain would make you feel better, I would have done it. I would have done anything for you in those last weeks. You handed the pipe back to Manny, who stood up and walked it over to me. "None for her," you said, but I surprised us both by saying, "I'll do it." I was desperate to feel close to you. After I inhaled twice, you and I stared at each other until Manny announced that he was going to watch TV in the living room, leaving us alone finally. I stayed in that corner until you invited me to sit on the bed with you. My fear of your death overwhelmed me in that moment, weighing down my chest while my heart beats too fast and the thoughts, oh God, those thoughts, kept slamming into me whole. The connection with your eyes, the only thing keeping me sane. "It's going to be all right," you said. And I nodded my head in agreement, yes. But I kept nodding and nodding and nodding until you put your hand on mine to quiet me. We sat there, staring in silence, holding hands, stoned. You were feeling momentary relief from the fear of dying, while I struggled with the rush of emptiness, a paranoia built on top of something dark and horrible, a hobbled place I knew waited for me for the time when you were no longer there to hold my hand. It has been months since I felt that familiar fear. I always assumed it was Manny's stash, not Daniel's. Remembering that scene in the bedroom meant recalling how strong the fear had been. I was intent on not allowing any unwelcome emotions a free ride on my year-long road trip. I had to know. And it was these thoughts that had me walking through my own downstairs, shutting all the blinds, bolt locking the front and back doors, then running up the stairs into the spare bedroom to sift through one of his boxes where I was sure I'd seen 2 of his smoking pipes. It was odd how excited I felt, anxious almost to know. I had become such a master at fighting back the fear of his loss, but now curiosity led the way. How far had I really come in 2 years? I returned to a corner of the garage where only a giant would be able to see me through the tall windows. With my thumb applying pressure to the lighter, I hear it click, then see the flame as I tighten my lips and suck in air from the pipe. Nothing. I don't feel anything. I feel weird. How long have I been standing in this garage? I look around trying to remember why I was in the garage in the first place. Then, in one breath, I feel Daniel, a sense of him, as though a rush of his energy went through my chest and out my back, like the whoosh of a door opening inside of me. It was that quick. Oh my God, honey, I just felt you. I just felt you walk through me. Are you here looking for your pot?